So we got two cases. One in Columbia, South Carolina, where a young man goes into a gas station, gets a bottle of water, decides to put the water back, leaves, ends up getting shot in the back. And the murderer is found not guilty. And then we have another where a young man is sitting underneath a tent during a rain delay. He's asked to leave. Some sort of altercation seems to have taken place. Young man fears for his life, strikes the aggressor in the chest with a knife, ends up killing him. Stays around, asks if he's okay. Doesn't matter. 35 years. It's two different cases, two completely different kinds of cases in their entirety, right? But yet we walked away feeling the exact same way with both of these verdicts that came within 10 days of each other, right? And that just kind of got me to thinking, why is it that no matter where we stand in the story, we end up losing at the end of the day? This is Society Breakdown. Peace, 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 and blessings. This is your boy 7 Inglewood Zone right now in your zone. And this is another episode of Society Breakdown, where we do a little bit of analysis into the cultural diaspora. And today is no different. But before we get started, if you are new to the channel, welcome. We do long form conversations over here. We read articles. We look at the data. And occasionally I use complete sentences. I know, weird, but please hit that like and sub and keep up with your boy so we can go ahead and move on with the dig. Okay, so today we're talking about two stories, right? One involves a 14-year-old black child who ended up dead. The other involves a 17-year-old black child who ended up convicted. Different stories, facts, and outcomes. But I think they show something about how we see the justice system, right? So first up, we got Cyrus Carmack-Belton. This was in 2023, Columbia, South Carolina. 14-year-old Cyrus enters a convenience store. The owner, Rick Child, believes that he stole some water while he was in there. Simple enough, except that the investigators did determine that Cyrus did not steal anything. He picked up 4 bottles of water. He put 4 bottles of water back. He didn't steal anything. And look, most of us have been wrong before. I've been wrong before. You've been wrong before. And I've been wrong with confidence before. You know that kind of confidence that like you sitting there explaining something passionate for like 10, 20 minutes and you're like, I know the earth is flat because I seen it on a video I saw on YouTube at 3 o'clock in the morning, that time after I was finished watching X videos, but I can't talk about that. So anyway, but I know, only for, to find out that you standing on the foundation that made no sense whatsoever. It happens, you know what I'm saying? We all make mistakes. And so the problem, in my opinion, isn't the mistake, it's what happened next. Rick Child and his son went and pursued Cyrus. So y'all run out the store for some reason. Again, video footage showed that this kid didn't do anything and didn't make any sudden movements towards them in any sort of way. They just seem to have gotten charged. He walked out. Again, I can't stress that enough. He walked out of there. He didn't look like somebody who had just issued a threat. He walked out. Next thing you know, Andy Chow and his daddy decided to run out after this boy. 130 yards. Again, that is further than the length of a football field. In pursuit for what exactly?
I think you took $1 worth of merchandise from the store.
I did think that, yes, sir.
And you were certain.
I believe he had taken it, yes, sir.
A $1 bottle of water. You were ready to take a life. No, sorry. You did take a life for a bottle of water that didn't even get stolen. And again, this is where I keep getting stuck, because the public story says that we're supposed to believe that somewhere between the point of him leaving the store and that 130-yard sprint, that somehow Cyrus became the threat in that time. I didn't necessarily see him become the threat at any point during that time. But if if that's what you all saw, then hey, please, why don't you just share it with the rest of us so that way we can all be appeased and say, okay, we understand now. This is why the thing occurred in the way that we did not otherwise interpret. Because otherwise, I don't understand how you can justify shooting a 14-year-old boy in the back who had fallen down, running from you. Again, and let's just say he pulled out the gun while you were in pursuit of him. Okay, if he had a gun on him, he pulled it out while you were chasing him. That would be considered self-defense at that point, wouldn't it? Is he not allowed to defend himself? I'm sorry. I'll just move on. So Cyrus becomes the danger somehow. To me, I don't know. The math just ain't math. Again, we had tons of camera footage that showed everything that took place in and around the building, even showing the child's in pursuit. But at no point did it show this young man pull out whatever alleged weapon. Again, I can't stress enough how the prosecuting attorney's closing remarks included him saying something like, the only people who saw this man pull a gun had the last name Chow. The only people. So it's basically he's saying it's their word against everybody in the community who also saw them in pursuit and never saw the boy pull out a weapon. So I'm just saying, 130 yards, 130 yards. 130 yards is a commitment. That is, again, that is over the length of a football field. You went from doing a normal commerce transaction to now you are training for the Olympics. What event is this? And again, if this young man pulled out this weapon on you, where did this take place? Because that's what your defense was hinging on, right? So show when it happened, so that way we all can be appeased and know that this is why it's justified. The whole problem lies in the fact that nobody understands how we got to the acquittal of Mr. Chow in this case, in the sense that you're like, okay, the kid went in, he did pull out the water, but he put all the water back, and then he showed the lady, shook out his hoodie. He didn't have anything on him. Then he walked out, grabbed his bag, and walked out of the store. Like, what part of any of that exchange made it look like he was issuing a threat? And what happened once he got around the corner that made Andy Chow and Rick Chow say, let's go on a hunt? What was it? Because, like, when you start issuing conclusions like that and the math just ain't mathing, folks start scratching their head and wondering, like, well, what the hell is this? Please tell me. If any of y'all can tell me down in the comments, let me know. What is it? What is this? And then we have the story of Karmelo Anthony, young man in April of 2025 on his track team in Frisco, Texas, one of the fastest growing suburbs, I believe, in Texas, if not America right now. So he's out there on a rainy day during rain delay. He sits underneath the tent of an opposing team. I don't know why he sat underneath the tent, but he sits underneath the tent of an opposing team. I don't know, did his team not have a tent? Why was he under the tent of another team? Was he talking to somebody over there? I don't know what was going on. Either way, he was under the tent of an opposing team. So he's under the tent. Another kid from the opposing team comes up and says, hey, kid, you don't belong here. Mind you, Karmelo is 130 pounds, about 5'7". The kid who approaches him is about 6'1", 220 pounds. I don't know if that means anything, but I'm just giving you some perspective, right? So big kid approaches little kid and says, hey, kid, get out of here. Big kid also has a twin brother. We didn't mention that part too. So we don't know if twin brother also jumped in this also, because we know how twins operate. If you grew up anywhere around twins, you know how twins operate. You can't go too far, especially in grade school age. You can't go too far without finding another one nearby. That's usually how twins operate. So I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying. So first twin decides to hop up. His name is Austin Metcalf. Austin says, hey, kid, get out of here. Now, I'm going to just ask you how you think How you possibly think that exchange went? Do you think it was just as simple as, hey, I'm bigger than you, get out of here, you should leave? Or do you think it was more to it than that? Again, let me know down in the comments, because nothing was reported that says any of that took place. But I'm just speculating at this point, because it just seems kind of weird that everybody is sitting there saying that this kid, the smaller kid, because he's 17 years old, but he's 5'7", 130 pounds. He's the smaller kid. The other kid, 6'1", 220. I'm just saying. And if you ain't did the math, that's almost 100 pounds difference. 90 pounds. They're saying that the bigger kid was the aggressor, and he pushed smaller kid. He pushed Karmelo. Karmelo basically says, don't push me again, or I'll show you what's going to happen. So he was pushed again. And so Karmelo pulled out a knife and allegedly stabbed the young man in the chest. Chaos, I would imagine, ensues after that. Hey, you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Karmelo actually is distraught but is focused enough to say, I hope he's okay. And, is he going to die? What's wrong with, all that stuff, after he had just, allegedly stabbed this young man. And I'm saying allegedly because if you read any of the information, the only thing I thought was weird in the information I read was that the knife was bent. Like, it was a pocket knife. The pocket knives, they have to lock out. They lock out. And it was bent. It wasn't locked out when he. And I'm like, how was the knife not locked out when they recovered it? So I don't know. So from that, Karmelo goes to trial, pleads innocent, is found guilty, 35 years. 35 years. And of course, just like in the Cyrus case, there is the public reaction of, people saying that, he should be let out and freed and all this stuff. And I'm not necessarily of that mindset. Because, hey, if he did stab the young man in the chest, he stabbed the young man in the chest. I get that. I just wonder, why is it that in this situation, because once again, the kid that was stabbed was 6'1", 220 pounds. I'm not saying that that justifies it, but I'm just saying 6'1", 220. And Cyrus is 5'7", 130. Why couldn't Karmelo at that point use self-defense as his defense? Like, why is it once again we're not able to defend ourselves? Because, and I get it. You're like, hey, he's 6'1". He's not that much bigger than him. He's 6'1". He's 220. He's not that much bigger. He told him to leave nicely. Okay, all right, cool. Let's just switch let's switch the races real quick. Just switch the races. I just want to know what you think about it. Two big black kids, 6'1", 220 pounds, telling your 5'7", 130 pound white kid to get up and leave, to get up and go somewhere. You don't think he'll feel intimidated? I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering because, in this case, we were not to consider race, and rightfully so, because, hey, it's not like this was racially motivated necessarily. However, it is kind of interesting that the jury of his peers didn't have one black person on it. I believe there were 3 that were initially in the jury panel that were excused. So they excused all the black people, and then they had 6 white people, a couple of Asian people, a couple of Middle Easterns, a couple of Latinos, no black people. Jury of his peers. That's how we have a jury of our peers when we don't see race. It's funny how you don't see race when it's a black person that's doing something. You just see the facts then, right? You only see the facts? Okay. All right. Then what happened to Cyrus Carmack-Belton? What happened to Cyrus? What happened in his case? Did we all of a sudden, we didn't want to see those facts? We all of a sudden didn't want to see that. But now we can see it in regard to, okay, I'm just checking, just making sure whether we agree with the verdict or not. What we saw was, once again, a black teenager receiving very little grace in a courtroom and in a space that offers us very little protection. Again, it's just an observation, okay? Because here's what struck me. You got Cyrus and Karmelo. They're both on different sides of the courtroom. One is on the prosecution side, one is on the defense. And it didn't matter. They both lost. They both lost. Most of us walked away from both stories feeling the same thing, that Black life remains uniquely vulnerable, regardless of which side of the courtroom that we're standing on.
Another one gone.
So there's a vulnerability that we're experiencing. There is a lack of grace that we're receiving when we enter these spaces. We're seeing that we're not being protected nearly as much as we thought.
Alone.
We don't have the protections in the court. And I think that's, when you think about it, that's probably why, and it's fucked up now, you got to think so far back, but it's probably why the OJ verdict was so eye-opening in the Black community, because we were like, whoa, the system wasn't designed for us to win something like that, and he won? What? Oh my God, he won. Because we know how the system is. This is how the system operates. I mean, I forget, there's no systemic racism, but this is what we see the system do. And this is what we see it do to us. We don't get the benefit of the doubt. We're always the ones who are presumed guilty, while our Caucasian counters are always presumed innocent, when in opposition to one another. And I'm saying Caucasian for all people who got the lighter skin and ain't got the melanin and the selanin. We're not given the ability to speak our case and let the facts lie, and the facts, only the facts, being the thing that stands. No, and I can't say always. Let me not sit here and start getting on some emotional whatever. But I'm just saying, there seems to be some sort of racial underlying or undertone to most of these decisions that are taking place lately. That's the only way I can otherwise explain it. Because in both cases, if the races were reversed, I can't see that being okay. For example,
and I'm trying to figure out how he got a bond that was so low for trying to kill my kid.
Arnold Daniel trying to figure out why Ryan Lee Wen is out of jail after allegedly shooting his son Kobe.
He tried to hit me with a sledgehammer, but that's not gonna work because I'm too fast.
So then what did he do?
Got a gun. Boom! Shot me right here.
It's all on video Saturday afternoon on Candlewood Lane. You'll see kids playing, hear a gunshot, then Kobe realizes he's hit. Lee Wen allegedly fired through his front window. The bullet went in Kobe's arm and out the other side.
So we got this young man who's been shot at by this Asian guy who has already who's already back out on the streets. He shot a 6-year-old in the arm with a gun on his block, and he's out. How?
Sway?
There was a time when Black people kind of held or maintained the moral standard of this nation, and I would say to a great extent we probably still do. However, with the twerking and the BBLs, it's kind of hard for us to maintain that at the same time. But I would say we still know what's right, and more so lean in the direction of right than wrong. And with the eroding of the protections for Black people, we're seeing a lot of those morals and moralities being wiped out of the nation, it seems. Like, it's not just that we're seeing that these cases aren't being judged in the favor of the Black person, whoever's involved. It's not just that. It seems like there's a systemic, maybe even underhanded, under the table even, connection that belies some of the problems that we're facing when we're looking for justice, but finding out it's just us. And so that's why we feel that the justice system in its entirety, especially with regard to us, is fragile at its best. Everything is under examination. We always have to say the right things, wear the right clothes, comply. And oddly enough, even when we do that shit, we still get fucked up. But I'm just saying, all of that can give us this real feeling of helplessness, of apathy when it comes to our state in this nation. Because we're trying to figure out, we're trying to figure out just like everybody else, but at the same time, we're the one that's under the microscope. We're the ones that's being searched with the fine-tooth comb and being searched for evidence, even though we wasn't even in the state. We're the ones that are considered to be guilty at just about every turn. We're the ones that are considered the usual suspects. What do we do with that? That brings me back to the beginning of this whole show. Heads, tails, we lose. And with no resolution, no answers to how we got to some of the answers that were supplied. I mean, maybe that's why some of these conversations never seem to end. Because for a lot of black people, the issue isn't just one verdict. It's that growing belief that there is much less margin for error when the black body enters the equation. And that's the fucking problem. But I will leave that for y'all to discuss down in those comments below. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this. And if y'all see any clips or other articles that you come across that you want your boy to review, make sure you hit me up at societybreaksdown@gmail.com. Follow me on all the socials at Society Breakdown. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. Please take care of yourself and others and live dangerously while you do. And I'll see you next time. Peace. And I'm out.